There can be no middle way in dealing with transgenderism. It is all or nothing. Transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely. The whole preposterous ideology at every level.
But I'm sick of it. Leave President Trump alone. And I'm telling you right now, we do not. Please listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth. We don't give a shit about these indictments. We don't give a damn. We voting for him. There's not a damn thing y'all can do about it.
That's right. You're not Hitler. You're not a Nazi. You don't deserve to be called that and demonized.
Well, I see good things about Hitler also. The Jew, I love everyone. I'm done with the classifications. Every human being has something of value that they brought to the table, especially Hitler.
You know, I'm kind of scratching my head over here. I feel like there's a lot of problems going on in this country, and I'm pretty sure I have some understanding of why that is. It's politics. I'm sure this video won't piss anyone off. Yeah, let's do it. Well, thank you kindly for coming on over to this here channel, gang. My name's Rich, and when I get time, I like to talk about the bullshit that pops up in my feed, or I guess what normies refer to as current events. This video is sponsored by me, motherfucker. Yeah, I'm just a dude on my computer in my room, so I appreciate your time, for real. You guys know how to use social media, use it to help me out. Fuck. Engage with this shit, do the things down there, makes me happy. Alright, sit down, grab a snack, and let's just get right into the bullshit, shall we? Okay, full disclosure, guys, I'm a lefty, not like Kurt or Jimmy. I like that. You see, I used to be a libertarian. If you're not already brain rotted by what is online politics, it basically just meant I was a nerd who thought he knew what he was talking about, but there wasn't much there. Unironically, I used to watch people like this old fuck for fun.
Inflation is made in Washington because only Washington can create money. And any other attribution to other groups of inflation is
boring.
You have to understand, when I was in high school, just being introduced to the notion of politics, you were absolutely bombarded with coverage on Donald Trump, positive or negative. Part of me definitely didn't like Donald Trump because he's obviously an unhinged guy.
Wrong.
But he undoubtedly had a unique appeal over the right wing and definitely some of the center as well, because he was straight up funny.
Wrong.
Regardless, obviously I'm a progressive now, but not only was I just becoming a libertarian conservative back then, it became who I wanted to be as a person. I was proud to at least have the tools to understand what was going on, and felt like as a conservative, you know, I had solutions to the country's problems that other people my age just weren't getting or understanding. I genuinely liked learning about politics. At this point though, I somehow had already ended up being what we call the Reddit atheist online. Just minus the Reddit with all the smug it takes, unfortunately. Terminally online, glued to my phone, just watching online content. When you continue down the online path that I was on, you inevitably rub up against a section of the right that is colloquially referred to as fascist.
You need to leave!
I know people get offended when you say that in 2023 there's a large portion of the right that's fucking fascist, but it's pretty obvious if you know anything about anything, and I'm not gonna spend a lot of time justifying what the vast majority of Americans know, unironically. Regardless, you have to believe me when I promise you that my understanding between the American right and left is far more sophisticated than the average 22-year-old, okay?
Who fought in the Civil War?
I don't know, give it to him.
George Washington. So you're saying George Washington was in the Civil War?
Had to be. Who else? Who really won it for us?
If it wasn't George Washington, who the fuck else could it be?
It was the Civil War?
Civil War. Who was fighting in that?
Us.
Us meaning?
The U.S.
Okay.
And him over there. I just know it's the Confederate side and the west side or east side.
Oh shit. Holy shit.
Right now, as a country, as an online community, as Americans, I think it's important to distinguish where we're at right now in terms of how our ideologies have polarized regardless of what side you're on. That's where I'm hoping to come in handy for you guys. You know, this isn't even mentioning the way that these algorithms we're all dependent on affect us, how they drive polarization by feeding us what we want, and at the end of the day, not what we need. which is nuance and the pursuit of truth. Does that sound like the fucking United States of America? Let me get more opinionated with you. Trust me, you're gonna love this shit. I know. Everything. So, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. Yeah, like, duh. I'm not here to explain why, because I have better things to talk about. But the coalescence around him specifically is what's fascinating to me. Him as a candidate or a leader. Part of our country seems to be uninformed or misinformed, or maybe they're just not paying attention that this guy was caught trying to ask for 13,000 votes.
NBC News obtained this recording of President Trump calling Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, begging him to change election results.
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state. I only need 11,000 votes. Fellas, I need 11,000 votes. Give me a break.
And this is, you know, probably the same part of the country that's okay with the events that happened on January 6th because they believe that the election was stolen and all that jazz.
You like jazz?
I'm formally drawing a hard line between people like this and people like Ben Shapiro right now because, like, apparently 60% of Americans and your dumbass cousin during Christmas don't know how the American political spectrum works at all. And I'm doing all the hard work, the thinking, gosh.
You understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Let's talk about fascism. You guys love the F word, don't you? These elements of fascism that you're seeing in the Republican Party are textbook, like my obsession with Latinas. Fucking textbook. It's not all of them, and I can't stress this enough to these fucking Twitter Andes. Help me save the country and wrap this shit around your head, please. So you have this one tenet that we understand fascism manifests as, which is the support of a dictatorial or strong central leader to call the shots. You had 97% approval for Trump and his party at some point during his presidency, with a lot of his base overwhelmingly willing to back the guy. Sure. Let's say this is true. I'll give it a thumbs up. That support is now lower because of candidates like Ron DeSantis or Ramaswamy. And we have to acknowledge, as progressives, as a country, the gradual shift away we are seeing from Trump. Which I think is good, because I think he broke the law. And let's talk about the fun stuff in this country that everybody knows about, and progressives are tired of talking about, is that good old-fashioned American racism and anti-Semitism, baby. Woo! Yes! Let me chill with that. This part's brief because I don't need to explain this part to you guys. Exhibit A and B. There's a part of the American right that was, at the time, and is still, let's be honest, largely okay with seeing Kanye West on Alex Jones praising Hitler. You didn't get to see much of them before Elon Musk took over Twitter, but oh boy, are they around. These are the Nick Fuentes, Milo, Yiannopoulos types that think that the US ought to be a Christian or, sorry, Catholic theocracy, mind you.
Gold jacket, green jacket, who gives a shit? Yeah. Oh.
And you just didn't see much of this popping up in the online and mainstream until the rise of figures like Donald Trump and the alternative media apparatus that we see today. You know, a lot of the same people Trump was having dinner with not too long ago. Republicans, racism and discrimination. What? I'm just kidding. I used to be a Republican. Self-report much? Nah. Listen, this is only something incredibly important to democracy. So, you can listen up if you can. I think that there are genuinely bad people in this country, but is that largely dependent on someone's politics? Probably not 100% of the time. Probably not. Anyway, remember when Steven Crowder got outed as a huge piece of shit?
Are at an ass, okay? I love you, but Steven, your abuse is sick. Your abuse
Watch it.
is sick.
Watch it. And watch it.
A lot of us already knew that Steven Neon Neck to prove a point Crowder was already kind of shitty, but the prior falling out between the Louder with Crowder guys is just a cherry on top to prove my point. The people that I consider the mainstream American or center-right, or what we want to be, that, the Daily Wire. These people historically have like a 99% miss rate, in my opinion. I have to acknowledge though, this trend I'm going to talk about goes way back. People like Ben historically aren't afraid to set themselves apart from people within their milieu, and that's respectable. I can remember this. Shapiro was one of the first people on the right, as I recall, back when I was Republican, to distance themselves from people like Milo.
I don't feel the need to extend an olive branch to somebody who sends me pictures of black children on the day my son is born. A lot of the Twitter trolls I was receiving who were sending me anti-Semitic memes on a fairly frequent basis were Milo fans.
And I know all of these people's takes because I learned about politics through conservatives. Also, one of the main people and only people on the right that I saw actually denounce Kanye's anti-Semitic rant and not really pull any punches was Ben Shapiro.
What do you think about the comments made by Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, about Jewish people?
They're awful and anti-Semitic, and they seem to get worse over time. They started off with the bizarre DEFCON 3 tweet, and then they went into even more stereotypical garbage about Jews and Jews being sexual manipulators. I think that was the Pete Davidson, Kim Kardashian stuff. And then Jews running all of the media, Jews being in charge of the financial sector, Jewish people. I mean, I called it on my show, there's Sherman Nazism, and it is. I mean, it's like right from Protocols of the Elders of Zion type stuff.
And recently, Donald Trump, Mike Pence, and the 2020 election.
I don't care about Trump's answer. It's Tucker's question that's absurd. You've always been nice to Mike Pence? The actual what? What? Oh! Okay, for those who have a memory of a goldfish, let me remind you of a time when Donald Trump suggested, nay, said outright, that Mike Pence had the unilateral capacity to overthrow an American election, essentially called him a coward. You were always very nice to Mike Pence is one of the craziest Orwellian statements I've ever heard. You were always very nice to Mike Pence is an insane statement.
What does this mean? It means that there are some parts of this country that are still able to be saved from the mind virus that was the result of the Trump presidency. I think. I'm one of the many people who have made the switch from the right to left in recent years, and I think the meme of the tolerant left is a meme for a reason. It doesn't matter though, we are the ones that have to be more courteous towards the right now, because rhetorically, a lot of them endorse Marjorie Taylor Greene understanding of Democrats.
The Democrats are a party of pedophiles.
I would definitely say so. They support grooming children. Democrats support, even Joe Biden, the president himself, supports children being sexualized and having transgender surgeries. Sexualizing children is what pedophiles do to children.
Wow. We're all pedophiles, brother. Welcome to American politics, guys. Your aunt on Facebook thinks this woman is a genius, by the way. I'm gonna be the one to bear the bad news, dog. I'm sorry. In all seriousness, there's a point to this video, obviously. Like, what is an ideapocalypse? I made that shit up. But it do mean something. It's just a man-made apocalypse where we fuck ourselves over because of a not-so-bright idea. Like, I don't know, letting Vladimir Putin lead Russia and point nukes at all of us unless we kind of just let him invade Ukraine. That's how you do it. That's fun. We have to be a democracy and get back on the same page. That starts with small things like admitting that part of our American online discourse is fractured, and it's for a whole plethora of reasons, but that fracture at least gives people like me a clear vision of where everybody on YouTube is at, ideologically, and I think that's an important skill to have that progressives often lack. But yeah, guys, live in a democracy and like a quarter to half of your country can't even agree that you're actually holding a legitimate election. How much longer can you expect your democracy to function? Much less function well.
And so what the poll shows is that policy-wise, there's some commonality between Trump and Biden voters, but people look at each other and they really hate each other, which suggests that more than anything else, this is a culture war. This really has less to do with policy than it has to do with culture. And this is something that I've been saying for a long time. When you have some of the country that believes the other half of the country is a bunch of religious rubes who are obsessed with their sex lives and who want to control all aspects of their boudoir, those people tend to treat other people with a lot of disdain.
On a very broad sense, I think the splitting of us into these different epistemic worlds where we have totally different realities is like destroying our ability to communicate with each other. And I worry if that continues to happen and continues to accelerate outwards. I don't know if it would be civil war or just like a total breakdown in government because we can't pass any legislation. I think that that's probably the biggest threat right now. What is it? A nation divided against itself cannot stand. We have a really hard time working with each other right now. That's really, really, really bad. And I think that's probably the biggest problem facing us.
This is what I'm wondering. As someone firmly on the left, who used to be on the right, in this country, do we really want to let ourselves get so bifurcated that as progressives we're okay with seeing the American right eat itself alive and just pray it doesn't end up overwhelmingly supporting open fascism? No. No, of course not. That's how you bring about the end of our democracy. Or maybe perhaps we should put my framework to the test, one where we can endorse a strong American center-right that can never stumble down the path toward fascism ever again. Hopefully. Like, come on, progressives need to grow the fuck up and try to start winning over some of the center-right. We already believe that we have the better ideas, which I think we do, but we need to be more fucking courteous and less bitchy, especially this election season. I don't know, guys, people think that America might be headed toward a civil war. Maybe we're headed towards the collapse of the American global hegemonic system with countries like China, who knows? What we all know is that after this election season, the country's going to be wondering what's in store for us next. And I feel like it's important to talk about where we want these conversations to go in the future. Until then, thanks so much for hanging out with me, if you've made it this far. I'm trying to get better at this whole process of making these as a whole, trying to make them better and better as they come out. I've just been knocked on my ass these past few weeks with cluster headaches, like every other day, but I'm still super excited to get these videos out to you when I do, because I love to see you guys' reactions. But yeah, let me know if you guys have anything to say down below or on my other socials. Either way, your mom gay. Thank you guys so much for any and all support you guys give these videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one.